So, did you ever wonder how to set up a basic building placement system in Godot? Some kind of typical RTS construction thing, where you insta-create stuff on the map? Cause that's actually not that difficult to do. Now, of course, in a real RTS, you'd probably have a bunch of buildings to pick from, and maybe even some actual construction phase, where workers gradually create the building. Today, however, we'll focus more on placement, and so we'll simplify all this to just the bare minimum. We'll have 2 building types to choose from, and we'll make it so that as soon as we click on the ground, if it's a valid position, the building is directly built. Okay, so to do this, let's start by preparing our scene. For this tutorial, what I did is I created some ground patches that will be where our buildings can be placed. And I also added various obstacles here and there, so the rocks, the trees, as well as water that will block placement in those specific zones. My obstacles are static body 3Ds with basic box colliders, and the water contains another static body 3D set on its own physics layer, the layer number 2. Other than that, I've got a super basic UI with 2 buttons for each of my building types. Now, the important thing to note is that for the ground, we need to make sure it's a physical object on a specific physics layer. Why? Well, because for placement logic, we'll be using raycasts, and we therefore need to identify properly what part of the map we're hovering with our mouse. If you're not familiar with that concept, I actually talked about it in a recent tutorial on how to select units in this kind of RTS game setting. In short, the idea for our use case is that thanks to raycast, we can project a 2D point on the screen into the 3D world, using utilities from our 3D camera, and thus effectively convert from screen space to world space. In this tutorial, for the ground, I put the static body, which is defined by all those meshes and all those matching colliders, on the layer number 3. This way it will be different from the default layer number 1 that the obstacles use, and from the layer number 2 that the water plane uses. However, something essential to remember is that in Godot, like in many game engines, physics layers are actually stored as bitmasks behind the scenes. That's actually a really cool and efficient way of representing the physics layers, because this way you can put your objects on multiple physics layers at once and still store it in a pretty small chunk of memory. And so what this means for us is that the layer number 3 actually corresponds to the value 4, because it's enabling the 3rd bit of the bitmask. If you don't care about the details, just be sure to check the exact value of the physics layer you're using for your ground by going to the inspector, hovering the cell of the layer, and looking at Godot's tooltip. Alright, and with all that ready, time to handle the actual placement logic. For that, we can use a basic node that has a script attached on it, for example one aptly named Building Placement Manager, and that for now looks like this. So first, we've got a prepare building function that takes in a code for the type of building to place. This is the function that we'll call when our buttons are pressed, and that will instantiate the placeholder phantom version of the building to help players see which zones are valid or invalid, and thus choose where they want to place the building exactly on the map. So basically, when it's called, the method retrieves the proper 3D model, matching the building code, and assigns this new 3D node to our building placeholder variable. The building models we're instantiating are prefab scenes that are named after our building codes, and they're pretty typical of the 3D hierarchy with the 3D model inside. The root node of these scenes is a static body 3D node, because we want our buildings to prevent us from placing other buildings on top of them, and so we need to get raycasts to hit those. Of course, we've also got a corresponding, albeit a bit crude, box collider that encompasses the overall shape of the model, and also the root nodes have their own building script that handles the visuals and this collider. In short, it turns the building in and out of phantom mode, depending on the value we give to its placed boolean flag, which changes the materials on the model and enables or disables the collider. This toggling of the collider will ensure that our building doesn't block anything while it's in phantom mode before we've placed it. Okay, now back in our building placement manager script. The next thing we have is the input function, that allows us to react to various player inputs, and in particular here, mouse events. More precisely, if we have a building placeholder active, there are 3 relevant situations. If we're clicking the left mouse button, then we want to mark the building as placed. This will take care of the materials and collider, as we just saw in the building script, and so then if we reset our building placeholder variable to null, we'll simply exit our building placement mode, and this way the building will remain where it is currently. If, on the other hand, we're clicking the right mouse button, then we'll cancel our current building placement by destroying the placeholder and resetting our variable. Finally, if we're moving the mouse, then we want our placeholder to follow it continuously while snapping at the ground. And to do that, as we said before, we're going to rely on some raycasts. This is what this check raycast function does. It converts a given screen point into a matching 3D projected point, and we can even restrict possible hit objects to those on a specific physics layer if we want. In our case, all we have to do is call this util method in our input function when we move our mouse, and pass it the position of the cursor. We won't pass any specific layer for now, because we need our raycast to take into account the ground, but also the various obstacles in the scene. And so then, if we do get a result, we'll use the position vector3 field inside this raycast result dictionary to update the location of our phantom building placeholder. Oh, and as a quick note, to avoid the building flashing at the origin of the scene when we first click on our building button, we can also do something similar in our prepare building function. The last thing we need to do to conclude this first version of our system is back in the editor to connect the press signals of our 2 buttons to our prepare building function. Here I'll make sure I list all the possible functions on my building placement manager node, so I can get my callback even if it has an extra parameter, and then I'll toggle on the advanced options and add the proper value for this additional parameter, so the building code for each button. And here we go! If we try this out, you see that we can already click on our buttons to get our phantom building placeholder, move it around with our mouse, and click again to place it somewhere. This gives it back its normal colors and stops it from following our mouse. We can also right-click to cancel our placement. Okay, so this is really nice, but for now, our system doesn't yet handle obstacles. We can actually place stuff on our rocks and trees or in the water. So to fix this, let's go back to our building placement manager script and rework our raycast a bit. Basically, right now, our raycast can hit any object in the scene, including the obstacles or the water, but they aren't any further checks, and so our buildings can be placed anywhere. To avoid this, we'll do the following. If we do have a raycast result, then we'll look at the physics layer of the object we got our raycast hit on to know if it's part of the ground, meaning if it was on layer number 3, which remember has value 4 because it works with bit masks under the hood. And so if it was the ground, then we'll say this placement is valid, else it will be invalid. And no matter the validity of the placement, we'll still update the position of the placeholder like we did before. As an extra layer of polish, though, if the raycast hits an obstacle, you can even redo a raycast, taking into account just the ground and water objects, to make sure the placeholder building is still snapped to the reference plane. For that, call the check raycast function again, and just pass in the extra collision mask parameter, set to 6, or in other words, 2 plus 4, the 2 values corresponding to our water and ground physics layers, respectively. Now, the hasValid placement flag that we talked about before will again be handled directly in the building script. It just plays around with the materials of the model a bit more to show it in red if it's invalid instead of green if it's valid, to give some instant feedback to the players. And so in our building placement manager script, we simply need to add an extra check when we left-click to place our building, so that if it currently has an invalid position, we abort and don't actually mark it as placed, and we stay in this phantom mode. And if you rerun the demo, you'll see that now the color of the placeholder building indeed changes, depending on whether you're hovering the ground, or an obstacle, or another building, and you can't actually place a building unless the terrain is clear and it's all green. As a quick extra, note that we can super quickly add a chain building feature that allows you to instantly place another building of the same type if you hold a specific key when you place the first one, for example Shift. To do this, all we need to do is, when we prepare our building placeholder, memorize the building code too, and then when we left-click to place it, and we've checked the placement is valid, we'll add this extra bit of code. In short, here we're checking if the input we want is currently held by the player. Note that here I'm using the key directly, but you could define it as an input action if you prefer. And if it is, then we automatically call the prepare building function again with our memorized building code. And well, that's it. We've now got a simple RTS-like building placement system that is triggered via our UI buttons, handles obstacles, and auto-switches the visuals to give players a nice feedback. We've even got a few quality of life features, like right-clicking to cancel the build, or holding a key, like Shift, to chain multiple building placements. Now, with all that said, there are of course a lot more cool features that make up an RTS game. For example, if you're making buildings, then you'll probably want to have some resource collection and resource storage system. So if you want to learn more about that, or if you've got some ideas of RTS features that you'd like me to talk about, go ahead and leave a comment down below. And be sure to subscribe to the channel to not miss any of the upcoming videos. In the meantime, there are already a bunch of tutorials that you can discover. Also, of course, a huge thanks to my Patreon members for the support, and to you for watching. And as always, take care.